What's up guys, the Strong Boys 19 here, and today we're going to go into a brand new era for Black Sabbath, which is the 1980s. Now, after the release of their previous album and the last ever Black Sabbath album with the original lineup entirely, Ozzy Osbourne was becoming really unreliable for Black Sabbath because he was really taking a toll on overdosing on drugs and alcohol, lack of rehearsals, and it got to the point the band was really going into a heap amount of trouble. And at this same time, Iommi had been writing music that would become this next upcoming album. And Ozzy was present at this time, but the band had decided that enough is enough, and they fired Ozzy Osbourne, the frontman from the beginning of Black Sabbath to the year of 1979. So after they got rid of Ozzy, Sharon Arden, the daughter of the manager Don Arden, who would later become Sharon Osbourne, Ozzy's wife, recommended a singer, and this singer became none other than Ronnie James Dio. Now, he was a singer from Ritchie Blackmore's band at the time called Rainbow, and they had been making records in the heavy metal fame as well. And when Dio and Iommi got together, the connections were very, very positive. They got to know each other. They decided to hire him as the new Black Sabbath vocalist, and the band go back into Criteria Studios in Miami, where the band had recorded one of their previous albums, Technical Ecstasy, and they hired a new producer by the name of Martin Birch. Martin Birch has always been one of my favourite producers. He produced records from others like Deep Purple and Iron Maiden later on. Recording sessions-wise was quite difficult because at one point Geezer had left because of going through a divorce with his wife and thinking about his time with the band. So they got in Rainbow's bass player, Craig Gruber, who became involved with Sabbath in the songwriting basics with Sabbath. But after that, from all of the work that Gruber had been involved with the guys, Geezer decided to step back into the band. And he didn't want to listen to how Gruber plays his bass lines in these new songs. So he decided to be in the studio and record bass lines of his own with Black Sabbath. And this album came to life. 1980s, Heaven and Hell. Now, Heaven and Hell is a record that always has been one of my biggest favourite albums in Black Sabbath's discography. And Vertigo Records, once again, was the record label for this record. And this is an album that feels the most complete and strongest Black Sabbath album in quite a long time. I say since 1975's Sabotage. While I did like Technical Ecstasy and Never Say Die, but in terms of this album, this one really feels like a complete finished album, like on the album Sabotage. The guitars on here are brilliant. I love the sound of the drums and the bass. There was an additional musician, Jeff Nichols, and he did the keyboard contributions for this record. The songwriting on this album completely goes back into a lot of guitar riffs and the aggression, and it's completely outstanding that they decided to go back to that phase. And Dio's vocals from the beginning to the end of the album shines through. And I always cited Dio as one of my favourite, if not my favourite, heavy metal vocalists of all time. The sound of his voice was just angelic and striking, beautiful, melodic. The album's cover art was taken from a painting by artist Lynn Curley, Smoking Angels inspired by a 1928 photograph of women dressed as angels smoking backstage during a break at a college pageant. Curley was also commissioned to do an album cover for Blue Oyster Cult by Sandy Pearlman, who managed both bands. The album's back cover illustration of the band was drawn by artist Harry Kermey. The first song, Neon Nights, is an incredible opener. Chugging guitar riffs coming in, and when Dio came in, it was just all there. The band was in full swing and action. Great vocals and guitar soloing. Neon Nights is always a song that really stands out as one of my favorite opening Black Sabbath tracks. Children of the Sea. And this was the song that Iommi had left off while Ozzy was present in the band. But Dio decided to work with Iommi to this song, and he rewrote the lyrics. And a lot of the lyrics on this album really deal with some more of an epic journey fantasy kind of. Dio's vocals on this song are just wonderful, from the cleans to when he just really rocks it up with his own strength. It's one of the slower songs on the album, but it is an epic. It's a masterpiece of a second song. Lady Evil, the next song, is another favourite. It's a bit different to the previous two songs. It is like on a hard rocking sound, but this one is another very, very catchy song like Neon Nights. And I love the way that Dio portrays his vocals with some attitude and, passion. The title track, one of the biggest and best Black Sabbath songs of all time, and it was actually Jeff Nichols that came up with the bass parts for this track, not Geezer. It was Nichols. Love the way that the song starts with guitar riffs and the bass becomes really consistent with Dio's singing and just gets stronger and better. A song that just shines on from start to finish. Now, one of the later songs, Wishing Well. Wishing Well is another favourite of mine. It's quite underrated, and while a lot of Sabbath fans would go about Neon Nights to the title track and Children of the Sea and Die Young, but Wishing Well is just another fantastic song with a lot of oomph. It's a really, really great song, but Die Young begins with some very, very smooth, touching, gorgeous ambient drone sound on keyboards, and I love the way it begins with Iommi's lead with vibrato that he had got in the background with reverb. It grows better with a lot of melodic vocals, and the harmonies were amazing. Dio's one of those vocals where he just comes up with some of the best vocal harmonies in metal, period. This is a record that always stands out as one of the classics in Black Sabbath's discography, and a lot of the soloing from Iommi, definitely one of his best. Like on the song Lonely Is the Word, Iommi's soloing was a big thing in Sabbath music, but his soloing on this record, incredible. He just blends it together with some of his best riffs, perfect combination, along with Dio as the new vocalist in Black Sabbath's history for now. I could really go on more about Heaven and Hell, but this was a record that doesn't really have to be talked about so much. I just couldn't really help but to go on about this album for quite a long while. But other than that, everything about this album is perfection. The songwriting was really, really strong and powerful. The vocals, the production, the lyrics, and it's just a package with some of the best pieces of music ever been recorded from Black Sabbath's history, without a doubt. So, I'm going to give Heaven and Hell by Black Sabbath a 10 out of 10. Always one of my favourite albums ever. If you want to get into Sabbath, then this is an album that I would recommend. along with some of the earlier Sabbath albums. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll keep you guys posted for more videos in the near future.